I never get tired of that.
Oh,
I think it's so cool. Whoever they got to do their graphics, two thumbs up.
and not to tell too much of how the sausage is made, but I think it's so cool how, because we come through StreamYard, how cool it is that the mic will mute while the intro is happening, and then the mic comes back. Like I feel like I'm in a real professional studio.
We are. Well, let's welcome everybody. Hey,
Hey, y'all.
happy 4th of July. It's Friday, 4 o'clock. Hippie Chicks Live. We're here.
Hippie
Come
Chicks.
hell or high water.
That's 15 days after Juneteenth.
There we go. There we go. And yeah, if you're in the United States, we are celebrating the 4th of July. And as I was telling Elle before we went live, I'm turned 58 this past birthday in December, and this is the weirdest 4th of July I've experienced being an American, being a U.S. citizen. And Al and I were talking about this earlier this week that, let's not focus on what we're not liking, right? Because that's kind of like playing into the hands of, the powers that are wanting to be. And so we're going to focus on all the things that we love and all the things that we're desiring. We're going to speak it into truth. And the more we speak it, the more it will become a reality. And we're going to ask all of you to join us wherever you are in the world. Because I don't think there's one country not getting touched by something right now, right? But we're definitely leading the pack and with a few other countries. So, and not to our liking, and people keep saying that, well, you voted for him. I don't think we all, no, we didn't. So, let's talk about it.
Well, one of the when we talked about it earlier this week, I said, can we talk about our ideal United State, not United States of America, but our ideal United State, right? Because to your point,
United State of Gaia.
Yeah, there you go. Yes. Because to your point, it's not simply about just what we see here in America. We want to talk worldwide because I think that if I'm talking about what I desire is the more global unity. If we could, we should really look at exploring that. There's so much diversity worldwide, and the fact that our world has been made smaller via channels and platforms like New Reality TV, who reaches everyone. You can reach countries all over the world.
Yeah.
And social media itself isn't, what better time to truly unite and think about how we can just be more open, more understanding of everyone we encounter, and no matter what. And if we can do that, how much greater can we be as a human race?
Well, and that's including the people who are in opposition. I mean, there's yeah, you have to stand up to certain things and you have to put your foot down, but there's also, you don't have to fight fire with fire, because when you do that, what happens? You get more fire, don't you? And again, I think that's playing into the hands of a playbook that's being played right now. So yeah, I agree. And yeah, it is a smaller world. Speaking of which, we've got Ivy back from Germany. He said, hey girls, I missed a lot of streams. Sorry. All good, my dear. I know it's late in the evening for you there in Germany, and I hope all is well. And glad that you joined us this afternoon. It's a beautiful day here. I hope it's a lovely evening over there in Germany. And I know it's a beautiful country. I've been there once. I'd love to go back again. I'd love to go back again. And hopefully we'll all have the freedom to be able to do all those kinds of things. So ideal. Well, our ideal, that let's be utopian. That was the word I was trying to figure out last week. Utopian. And there's nothing wrong with talking like that, because again, like we said, we are spell casting as we speak, right? And so let's speak it into reality. And it does start with each individual person and taking accountability and responsibility for yourself and your own actions, right? Yeah. And we got to stop looking to blame the other guy well, he's doing that, and then waiting for somebody to save us. That's the biggest bullshit lie ever.
Yes.
Big, 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 big. Well, and that is sold to us. I mean, even through religion, because Jesus is going to save you. Well, that's a total misinterpretation of what that ascended soul was trying to show people or teach people. But we're not going to get into that conversation. That's a whole other can of worms. But it really kind of goes back to what the gentleman was and his wife were trying to teach society. Clearly, they were not ready for it, but it was the same type of powers that snuffed him out, basically. Right?
I always liken those things. It's so modern. It's an ancient story, greatest story ever.
But it's happening to present time.
Exactly. And we have to, you see many people who think about that ancient story, and everyone is so self-righteous when conveying the story. But then we come back, and instead of us patterning our lives after the greatest love, after the greatest, humanitarian, we do the same thing to each other. We persecute and that's something. And if we're talking what we desire and what our ideal is, those would be the things that we would want to emulate, is that humanitarianism and that love, in spite of, and I am in no way saying not to have healthy boundaries. I know we talked about this a little bit last week.
Right.
Healthy boundaries are born of love. I would want a person who says they love me, if it is real love, to set healthy boundaries, and I should respect those as a person who loves. So there is absolutely nothing wrong with standing for what you believe, but we don't have to be disagreeable to disagree.
Well, and that's the thing, is that there's a good percentage of our society that is emotionally immature, and that's what we're experiencing right now. And I think that's by design. This is talk about long game. This has been centuries long in the making, convincing humanity that we're broken, we're unlovable, we're unworthy. Right. And it creates a sense of a lack of self-love. And that's the biggest cause of suffering on this planet. And that causes people to behave in ways other than they would. Because if your spiritual, emotional, physical, and emotional, or what did I say, mental needs are being met, then you're not going to act a fool, are you?
Exactly.
All right. I mean, what a lesson we learned in the great movie Trading Places with Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd. All right, and Ralph Bellamy, and oh God, what's the other guy? That's gonna kill me. Who is it?
Dang it.
Ralph Bellamy, and I love him to pieces too. And I know it's like out of the tip of my tongue. Damn it, I hate that. All right, let me get somebody. Where are you? Google it. Giggle it. Anyhow, yeah. Well, that was the whole experiment for over a bet over $1 about see how people would behave if you put them in different. Thank you, Don Amici.
Yeah, I was like, I can see his face. I couldn't say his name.
I can do too, but I can see him dancing too because he's a great dancer. Yeah. So and it was Hollywood's telling the truth, and that is the great experiment, and we are so easily manipulated, especially when you don't properly educate people. You give them misinformation, because I'll tell you what, growing up in the elementary school that I went to, which we've discussed that in great length here, I didn't learn a thing about Juneteenth. I had no idea that existed.
Same here.
I didn't know anything about Tulsa or any of the other thwarted efforts of Black communities progressing and succeeding and making a name for themselves and then being obliterated.
I didn't learn those things. Yeah.
Growing up, the Indians were the bad guys.
Right. And how that was conveyed in our television shows and everything.
Yes.
I love Gilligan's Island, don't get me wrong, but I still think back to how they spoke of and treated the savages. Now, they normally came together by the end of the episodes, but it was how they treated them and referred
Like
to
they were less than or subhuman or not human. Yeah. And
use the word Indian or Native American. They simply called them savages, but they were Native Americans. And that
mhm.
after growing up, after I wasn't a kid anymore, I started to be more aware, and I was like, that wasn't cool.
No, not at all. But that was norm.
Yeah, it was, sadly. Yeah.
50, 60, 70s, right? So, so that's been deeply ingrained in everybody. So, that's that's on purpose. If we were left to just be these micro communities throughout the land, and we took care of each other, and everybody's helping raising everybody else's kids, and we all collectively create food together, and you still have your private time, but it takes a village type of thing.
Yeah.
But we don't have that. We've been individualized. I think I put one extra L in there, but
We know what you meant.
But we're all in our own little bubbles.
Yeah.
Right. And it's with the exception of a few communities in the US, that family vibe isn't there, especially if we're the descendants of the people that basically stole this land and brought slaves over.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, yeah. So, and that's, moving into the same subject, but slightly ethereal, is that whole era, for as long as it went and as violent as it was. Talk about some energy, talk about some karma.
Yeah.
That has to be reconciled.
Right. Absolutely.
Okay.
And
big time.
Right. Yeah. And I don't know how you would other than to foster that whole idea of community and family fairly and equally across the board. And unfortunately, that does not happen. And it is not necessarily it's not just racial boundaries, but there are socioeconomic boundaries as well. So
there's gender boundaries. There's all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So
it may be that we all just have to agree to disagree and choose to live in our own little quadrants, if you will. I don't like that word because that sounds very sounds like what is that, the hunting games or the
Hunger Games?
Games, yeah. What's it for? Yeah, no thanks. But we're at it's a very interesting thing to witness.
Yes.
All right, because I see both worlds unfolding. I see people that are so excited, the fact that we're ascending, and we understand that the disease, the infection has to come up to the surface in order to heal, in order for us to move over. You got to tear it down to build it back up. If you remodel your kitchen, you're not just going to plaster shit over the stuff that's there. You got to rip it all out and then start new, right? Yeah. And then you get the people on the other side that are either doom and gloom and we're screwed, or the people that are like, burn, baby, burn.
Yeah.
Right.
And that burn, baby, burn. Yeah. It feels way different from that burn, baby, burn that we heard about and saw in the 60s and 70s.
That was a positive kind. This is negative.
That felt unified. There was a unification there.
Yeah, because they were like, burn your draft card, but now they want the world to burn.
Yeah. And it's it just feels really detrimental. I noticed a lot of rage baiting, and not just
ooh, golly, that's because that's how they manipulate us.
Yeah.
If we're not sad, if you don't get like a lot of pop-ups on your feed that surprise you, like of animal cruelty or something like that, to get you to be in your sads and your feels, it's going to be shit that's going to bait your anger.
Yeah. And I noticed people, kind of dipping into that, because their posts, or the posts on social media that get the most reach very often, are those types of posts, because they know people are going to comment, they know people are going to react. And that's a shame, because, what could we do to align that algorithm? And I don't mean the social media algorithm, I mean the algorithm, the universal algorithm, the mental algorithm.
Yeah.
have that happen. As it stands now, there's certain things I don't say around my phone because I know, being that we allow our cameras and allow our microphones, our phones in some capacity are listening and watching at all times.
Right.
Certain things I won't say around my phone because I don't want that regurgitated to me when I go to scroll. I don't want my educational scrolling or my inspirational scrolling to turn into doom scrolling.
Yeah. I was in danger of that happening for a hot second when things got really lit up, and then I had to like unplug for a minute and let social media know I'm not there anymore. I'm not paying attention anymore. And then I stop. It keeps asking me, "Are you interested in this or not?"
Right.
And sometimes I'll just ignore it completely. None of your business. I
Right.
don't care. You don't need to know if I like this or not.
Right.
And then sometimes I'll say yes because I'm trying to. I don't want to see a certain person's face in my feed anymore. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of his name. I'm tired of his energy. I'm tired of everything. But this is what we have to deal with right now. But I don't have to see it in my social media page.
Yeah, you can really make it what feeds your soul, you know.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
own that. We're in charge of that.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And it's important that I keep that energy up because, with what I do, I'm here to help people out of that darkness because if you've got low self-esteem or if you've got issues of dealing with narcissists or bullies in your lifetime, that's in your micro. It's also happening in the macro as well. So these people are, they're probably maybe mildly autistic or got ADD or something like that, and it's jacking them through the roof.
I believe it. Yeah.
Right. So I gotta keep my energy good too. So you better believe I meditated before this session here, just to ground myself.
Yeah.
And look beyond the matrix here.
That's what has helped my mindset to just kind of be guided to that ideal versus you mentioned to me, you spoke to me when you were first talking to me about how you approach hypnotherapy and the whole idea, for instance, if someone is trying to quit smoking, of not giving it the energy. We don't talk about that thing we don't want because that just makes you want it, right?
Yeah.
Forefront.
I will not have that cupcake. Damn it, I want a cupcake.
Yes. Oh, goodness.
All right. Yeah, man. It's yeah. So yeah, when you put focus on what it is that you want, that's what you speak into truth. So I think, that's how, we walk our days is heart-centered.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's a great way to put it.
Right? It's more heart-centered.
Yeah.
I just see a lot of people being very scared right now. And I think that fear, again, that is being purposely generated because it's making a certain person feel powerful. But this is a good example of how we can still be in our sovereignty, even though we've got a jackass misbehaving. Because I have a feeling, I keep hearing, and I love that I hear this. This is like, spirit speaking from behind going, the bigger they are, the harder they fall. The bigger they are, the harder they fall. And I think we're going to get to witness something like that.
Yeah.
We're too aware now, and we're also too elevated than we were 84 years ago. Right?
Absolutely. Yep. And you're right. You're right. And I feel like that evolution is what will help sustain us in the long run, and will help sustain the good, the positive. Yeah. The unafraid, the unabashed. And just like we talked about the fact that we meditated before coming on here, when you're feeling that fear, and this is something I practice myself because every breath really is a meditation. And whatever I'm in the middle of, if I start to feel that fear or that feeling of overwhelm, I just take a deep breath and slow down for a second and just process it? How am I feeling? How do I need to respond to how I'm
You
feeling?
check in with yourself, right? Oh, I found this awesome meditation recently, or it finds me. Don't you? You magnetize this stuff to you on Bluetooth. You know, I was like, I was like, bloop 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 tube. Anywho, it's mostly a sound bath,
Wow.
and she's just bing banging on all kinds of stuff, but it really gets you in theta for just a hot minute, and it's so good. I really appreciate it. But in the very beginning, she has us do, I forget what she called it, this certain type of breathing where you first breathe in. We're used to breathing in through the nose and then out of the mouth, like when you do yogic breathing. This is the other way. You're breathing in through your mouth and out your nose, but it's different. You're gonna create a circle with your mouth, and then your tongue like that.
Uh-huh.
You get a deep breath because the way that your tongue and goes down you get a deeper breath. And then you breathe out through your nose. And she has you do that, 4 or 5 times before she gets you going. And I'm digging it. I've never tried that breath work before. It seems so simple and so, so boring actually, but it's like it just gets that extra breath in there, and that's where the magic is.
Love that. Send that to me when you have an opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, maybe we can put a link in for when this comes up on YouTube. So I fear he's still there. You he just popped in and said hi.
And feel free to ask any questions if you have.
Yeah, ask any questions. Yeah. Are we prepped? Yeah, just in case. Just in case. You'll never know, you don't want to be caught, I'm ill prepared.
Yeah.
He says he's still there. Awesome. So all right, we got a couple more minutes. So all right, 4th of July, good gravy. All right. It's kind of a weird time for me anyway, because 40 years ago, my eldest brother passed away. He was 26 years old. He had a grand mal seizure. I was 18. It was a surprise, but then again, it wasn't. And it also felt like that was meant to happen kind of thing, tragic nonetheless. Okay. And he passed away on June 29th, 1985. And his viewing and everything was July 3rd. So the day before 4th of July. And then the next day, because we were all just so numb and emotionally just battered, it was me and my boyfriend at the time, and my sister and her boyfriend and a couple other friends took the metro and went down on the mall in DC, because I live around, right down the road basically. And we saw the Beach Boys.
Oh, wow.
Down on the mall. And it was, of course, hotter than hell and crowded as all get out. Quite frankly, the Beach Boys sucked. I'm sorry. I don't think Brian Wilson was there. It was the other guys.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. Now, he stopped touring with them a long time. He had issues going on. But it was really weird. And then his funeral was the day after that. So 4th of July has been kind of shrouded with weirdness. And then 5 years ago, July 3rd, my father passed away.
Oh, wow. So it's a heavy time of year.
It's a heavy time. Yeah. I think he actually left on the 2nd, but they kept him alive in the hospital for another 12 hours or so. So they officially said it was the 3rd, but I say he passed away on the 2nd, but whatever. He's happier now. I know he is. He's with his buddy, as he called God, which I thought was adorable. Aww. So, buddy God. Or is it 2 thumbs up? Or 2?
Right. Yeah.
Or is it like Isaac? Can I get you another drink? That was a Love Boat reference, if those who know in the know. I gotta go.
For those of a certain age.
Yes, indeedy. Thank you, wifey. I appreciate you. Appreciate your condolences for my brother. He's actually been a big help from his perspective, and I've learned a lot. And actually, it was because of that experience is led me down the path to become a hypnotherapist. So it was all meant to be.
Yeah.
It was definitely all meant to be, because when he passed, uh I wanted to really know what went on when we died. I knew religion was just no, not for me.
Right.
So I didn't buy any of that stuff. I saw right through all of it. And so I started reading Dr. Brian Weiss and Dr. Raymond Moody, and they were all doing past life regressions on these people, and they were recounting these past lives, and then they do the research, and they could like look up these people and these villages and visit them and go, oh my God, I feel like I've been here before. Well, I guess you have. And so, and it was just so fascinating. But of course, I never thought I'd make money of it doing any of that, because, I wasn't a psychologist or a psychiatrist. Well, you don't need to be a psychiatrist in order to learn how to be a counselor or a hypnotherapist. But you know what? Had I started when I did, I would not have had enough life experience.
Right. Yeah.
Even though I had the most best intentions, I was so green, so wet behind the ears, is not even funny. So, and that's probably not a good saying to say anymore. But anyway, that's something my dad always said. So it's probably not a good thing to say.
But it's like a baby. They're referring to
just a baby. Yes, but that's not what that saying is.
Yeah,
Actually.
I feel you.
That's just
yeah.
I'm like, well, wait a minute, Kelly. Anywho. Sorry. Anywho. What was I saying? Oh yeah, I needed to be in my 40s to get started doing this.
Things, yeah, life experiences.
Oh, that's me. So yeah, life experiences. And it just kind of jerks me a little bit to see all these 20-somethings trying to be life coaches and dit. Girl, come on now.
And not to take anything from them. They're,
I know. And I don't want to discourage people doing that. But
and maybe there is a demographic that they certainly can help. You know what I mean? I don't want to discount them because they don't have the same amount of life experience I have, but perhaps there have been some things I've learned from the
and there are some people, I guess, that could be that emotionally mature at that age.
Yeah. And I think I think there's something to be said for different perspectives as well, because with people being raised in different generations, there are just some different experiences. And I do think,
yeah, well, and also emotional maturity is a big deal, and that takes time, because as with it and hip as I thought I was in my 20s, wasn't emotionally mature as I am now. No way.
I think back to thinking that I should have started my acting career, where I jumped out and said, I'm going to do this now in my 50s. I'm like, why didn't I do that in my 20s? Why didn't every time I'm doing something more, I'm like, why wouldn't I? But it would have been different. I like dad. Like, I didn't have, I was young, I was dumb. It wasn't for me. But there are young people who have made it from the age of being young and are good. They've had good wholesome.
That's why I'm saying it's a very small percentage. The majority of us, it takes a little more kneading on the counter a little bit, if you will, to get that bread to rise. So, but then again, it's all hands on deck. So if your intentions are good, if it's not just to make a quick buck or to scam people,
that's important, right?
Because this is so easy. All I had to do was take a weekend workshop, and now I'm a hypnotherapist,
right?
Or I'm a life coach. Okay, how much training have you really had?
That intention is important, because there are things that they learn even as they're doing that. As they are counseling, there are things that they're going to learn, and hopefully, even if someone is younger, they're evolved enough to really take on those learnings to use in their craft. If they are.
And that's the whole point. The whole point. And then, the more references you have, the more you're able to share that with your clientele or resources to draw from in order to help them. Right. And then you're able to keep yourself detached, keep your own shit at the door and not get involved. Because I'll tell you, I get a lot of ladies in there that are in abusive narcissistic relationships. And does it want to trigger me? Maybe a little bit, but I keep myself in check because it's all about getting them out.
Seconds, girl.
Huh?
Got no seconds now. We're at 30.
Oh, bye. My eyesight went. We love you guys. We'll see you next week, Ivy. Have a good night. We'll see you next time, next Friday, 4:00. Whoop, whoop.